Hey guys, and welcome back to the Indie Spotlight here on the Fronsman Productions YouTube channel. If you're new to the series, this is where I take a look at indie movies to help shine a spotlight on all the amazing talent out there making independent films. Today we're going to be talking about the psychological horror movie Protanopia. Protanopia was written and directed by Matthew Mahler. The movie stars Timothy J. Cox as Alan Roscoe Jr., the newly appointed committee president of his neighborhood following the death of his father. Meanwhile, Luke, a writer from the area, begins having visions and nightmares about Roscoe's house following the disappearance of his sister Mallory. Throughout the movie, we start to learn more and more that there is a dark secret lurking beneath the surface at Alan Roscoe Jr.'s house and what he must do to preserve his family's inheritance and property. Throughout the movie, you'll notice that Mahler takes an unorthodox approach to his filmmaking style because, as opposed to that of a traditional narrative structure, Protanopia is more experimental, almost hallucinogenic and psychedelic in its nature, in the way that Mahler, uses the visuals and sound design to convey a feeling and invoke an emotion rather than tell a linear story. In some ways, I find that Protanopia takes some cues from movies such as Panos Cosmatos' 2018 cult classic Mandy, particularly where it comes to the striking high contrast, very vibrant color grading, as well as the more hallucinogenic style of the cinematography and editing, and how that blends together to create more of an audio-visual roller coaster than a standard story. As a filmmaker, there are multiple reasons why I think it's worth giving Protanopia a watch. And particularly, I think that the way that the movie plays out is sort of a visual poetry, if you will, an audio-visual motif. I think that is something that a lot of filmmakers can really learn from and study from by watching this movie. The way that audio and visuals are put together in such a way that it really does create this feeling of dread, this constant unease and dizziness throughout from start to finish, I think is really something that a lot of us as independent filmmakers can learn from and study some of the techniques that are used in the movie and bring them into our own projects. Even if we're doing something more narrative and less art house style, you can still incorporate some of these elements, and I think there's a lot to learn from and study from here. I also really think that the movie does a great job of conveying this this overall overarching theme of greed within American suburbs and how you don't really know what's going on behind closed doors. When you look at Timothy J. Cox's character, Alan, and you see these two different sides of him, on one hand, you see this, very typical, middle-class white man in the suburbs, but then we see, he's losing his mind, this unhinged nature, and some of the dark things, some of the really disturbing things that we witness him do, within this house, within the walls of his home, in order to, in essence, protect his family's legacy. Another area where I really feel like Protanopia does shine is within its sound design, particularly with the musical score. I'm always super impressed whenever I see a filmmaker who is also their own composer, and the work of Matthew Mahler here is really no exception. I find that his music from beginning to end really is so haunting and so ambient and eerie that it really does combine so well with the striking visuals to help convey this mood. There's also another original song that's used a couple times throughout the movie as sort of a musical motif that's performed by the actress who plays Mallory, James Chase. And I find that the song is both equally haunting and beautiful, which in essence captures that theme of, this dual nature, this beautiful on the surface, but eerie when you really get into the lyrics and what she's saying and what lies, beneath the surface of this song. And I find that song it's very enchanting, if you will, and draws you further into what's happening, especially the first time that we hear it throughout this dream sequence. I find it to be this very rich, powerful song that really helps build the overall aesthetic of the movie. So as an independent filmmaker, there really is a lot to learn from and study from, whether you're looking at some of the dizzying editing techniques, the blurriness, the cutting, layering images over top of each other. If you're looking at the usage of lighting, especially with the high contrast reds and blues throughout, whether you're looking at the music and how much that plays into it and does a lot of the legwork of combining that with the visuals to create this eerie and macabre mood, I really think there's a lot to learn from, and I think that Protanopia is a great education on using the formal elements of filmmaking to help create and invoke a feeling within your audience. So overall, while Protanopia might not necessarily grab everybody, as it is more of an experimental art house movie, I find that it's really worth the watch, especially if you're an independent filmmaker, because even if the movie that you're working on does follow a more traditional narrative structure, I find that a lot of the formal filmmaking elements that Mahler uses throughout the entire movie really is a great education to you of ways that you can incorporate such elements within your film. So you can watch Protanopia right now on its official website via Vimeo. And as always, I'm going to go ahead and link down to that movie down in the description, so you can go ahead and check it out and give it a watch and let me know what you think. But anyway, guys, that's all I have for you here today. Remember, if you like this content and you want to see even more videos on indie filmmaking, go ahead and drop a like, subscribe, turn that bell on for notifications. And if you yourself are an independent filmmaker and you have a movie that you would like me to talk about on the Indie Spotlight, go ahead and let me know down in the comments. Just let me know what the name of your movie is, where I can watch it, and I'll add that to my watch list to talk about in a future video. But anyway, guys, until next time, that's a wrap.